Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can use Docker Compose file to deploy a MySQL container. In our previous video, we saw how we could do this using Docker. We saw how we could create MySQL containers. So we started with images, then we moved to containers. Now we are going to Docker Compose. And when I think of it, three key reasons why I would say Docker Compose is way better than just the containers that we were just executing and running in the previous video is that number one, when we are talking about Docker Compose, it allows us to run multiple containers in a single compose file. And we are going to be seeing some of that in our next video. We'll be seeing how we can run MySQL and an application as a service within a Docker Compose file. And if you can recall, in previous videos, we were executing containers individually. Another thing I would say is that it's way cleaner. Docker Compose makes use of YAML syntax, and it's cleaner to work with it. It's easier to read, it's easier to modify. One more thing I would say is that Docker Compose allow you to add some initialization scripts, and we are going to be seeing some of that in the video in this video. So without talking too much, let me just share my screen. So let me share, let me open my Docker Compose file first. So before I share my terminal, let me open the file so that we can just see the file that we would be working with. Okay, so I think it's already opened over here. Yeah, so this is the Docker Compose file that we are going to be working with. We start with a version. So this version, one reason why it's very important is that the version works for some particular Docker engine. So there's a mapping in the documentation. You can just Google Docker Compose version engine mapping or something, and you will see the versioning and the Docker version that is compatible with it. But I'll be working with 3.6. There are newer versions, but this is quite old, but it's still compatible with my version of Docker. Then under the services, I'm using MySQL image. I'm mapping port 3306 of my computer to 3306 of the underlying container, and I want to restart when there's any issue. Then I'm setting environment variable, my root password, database password, user, and password. If you can recall, we could do all this in our container. So everything here we could have done in our container, and everything from here upward. Just that it's way cleaner, it's easier to modify, and it's more readable. But there's also another thing happening in this last line, which is quite interesting. And this line is just saying that when it is done deploying the MySQL container, I have a couple of commands in this DB file that is to be used as an entry point. And I'll be opening that DB file right now so that we'll see what is really happening over there. So let me open the DB file as a text document. Where is it? Where is it? So that's one thing that makes this really cool and easier to use. So let me stop sharing and I would share again. So let me share again. And over here, we can see the DB file, and it's saying that I should create a table called curse, and these are the columns in the table, and we are inserting some kind of data into that table. So after creation, you know that in the previous video, when we executed our container, I had to use my SQL client, or I entered into the container using attach, Docker attach, before I could run get into the MySQL shell and create a table and added content into the table. But with Docker Compose, I do not need to do that. I do not need to wait before I can do that. I can just add that as part of my Compose configuration, which makes everything cleaner. So let me stop sharing now. I'll be going back to my um I'll be going to my terminal, my bash screen. Yeah, so to start our Docker Compose, all I just need to do is to use the command Docker Compose up. With this, I can start my I can run my compose YAML file, and this will do all that is needed to be done as regards the deployment of MySQL container. So I've started the script, it's creating it, is succeeded, it's attaching to DB1, and it's going. So this is quite interesting. So far, this video, all we are doing here, we could have also done with our container, but I just wanted this to be like a um I wanted this to be like an introductory lab for Docker Compose. So we could have done with executing a single container. For me, I feel like Docker Compose is really useful when we are executing more than one container. And in this case, we are working with just one container. Yeah, so um, it's running, it's running. So I think my um it's ready for connection. So what I will do is I will stop sharing. I will leave this running because I mean the container is currently running. I will leave it running. I didn't specify that it should work in the background, so it's working. So what I would do is I would stop sharing this, then I will go over to my just to confirm that it's actually working. So let me open another git bash and would run docker ps to see that it's really working. So let me share. So let's see docker ps, and let's hope that our container will be running. Docker ps. Yeah, so our container is working. You can see it was created 2 minutes ago. So everything is working well. So to confirm that our initialization script, our SQL script work, so I would be using the MySQL client through MySQL shell rather to check out our database. So let me open MySQL shell, my SQL shell. Then let me share my screen. Yeah, my SQL shell, my screen is being shared. So what I want to do now is I want to log into this. But So I'm trying to just copy scripts. So I will change a few things. Connect, my host is localhost, that's fine. But my username is not root. I'm not logging in as the root user. So I want to log in as from what we had. My user was Frank and the password was Frankly Ayo with a capital F. So I would enter Frank and the password. I'll just press enter and I'll be prompted to enter the password, which is Frankly Ayo. Enter. I hope it's correct. Yeah, it's correct. So I don't need to save my password. Yeah, so we are in. So the first thing I want to do is let me switch over from JavaScript to SQL. Then let's see databases to be sure that the database that was created. So the database I created was FrankDB. So let's hope that that database was created successfully. FrankDB. So show databases. Yeah, you can see the FrankDB there. So you can see that our initialization SQL commands worked well. So let me use database FrankDB. Okay, so I don't need to include database. Use FrankDB. Okay. Use FrankDB. Default schema set to FrankDB. Okay, that's fine. So now what I will do is let's try to select all from course. And we can see that the content were added to the database successfully. So from the SQL file, you can see that this content was added to it. So this is just a simple video I wanted us to do on how we can work with Docker Compose. Even though we were working with just the MySQL container, and Docker Compose really only begins to make a lot of sense when you have multiple containers working together as a service. And it uses YAML. You can see the coding structure is quite cleaner compared to when I was working with the native Docker commands. And it's also adds additional features that makes life a lot easier for the software engineer. Okay, so let me stop sharing. If this video was informative for you, do well to leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Have a good day. In our next video, we are going to be looking at some more complicated scenarios in the usage of Docker Compose. It will be very, very value adding, and I'm sure you'll be glad you watched. Have a nice day.